Hi, and thank you for listening. This is Sherry Andrea, and I appreciate you very much and the time that you give me. Um, Let me get a few things out of the way. If you're looking for me, you can find me at sherryspeaks.com. That's sherryspeaks with an S.com. It's my website, and there you can find 80 plus attunements from $2.50 and up. Yes, I try to keep them affordable. Regardless of the criticism that I get, I'm not going to change. Yes, I'm stubborn like that. Um, but in a good way. Also, you can, under services, you can also find deep clearing that I do, which a lot of people really like. I had stopped doing it for a while. And it wasn't until I put it back on the website that I realized how much people liked it. Sometimes you think that what you're doing is just okay. And, sometimes we're hard on ourselves and we, don't give ourselves a lot of credit or as much credit as we should, or we don't see what we're doing as being good and helpful. And so when I put it back on the website and I offered it again, so many people started ordering it, and still I have a lot of people ordering it still since I put it back on. And that's when people started telling me how helpful it had been to them, and how much they had relied on it. So I really thank those of you who have let me know the various ways that it helped you, and the various things that it did for you, including some people explaining that in working on themselves spiritually, metaphysically, it helped them to reach that next level that they had been pushing for. And so I just want to say I really appreciate all the kind words and you letting me know exactly how it helped you. Okay. The other thing you can also find, I do psychic readings. I channel my higher self. I do tend to get a lot of information, a lot of detailed information. So it's not just, a reading that's a yes, no, maybe type of thing. I do get detailed information from my higher self. My higher self is also awesome at giving advice. Sometimes it amazes me the things my higher self comes up with, and the things that my higher self sees in people. I mean, of course, my higher self can see everything, but sometimes it still surprises me even. Um, the readings are affordable. $39 is the regular price for 30 minutes. I often don't do an hour session, but yeah, I will, if you want one. I don't do them very often, only because, yeah, depending on, what I'm channeling, it can be exhausting. Most of the time it's not, but sometimes it is. So I usually stick to doing 30-minute sessions, but if you need an hour, I'll do an hour. Um, Now, occasionally I do put the readings on sale for around $15. I just had a sale that ended that I let run for, I think, since Christmas. I try to let them run for a long time. So I'm not sure when the next sale is going to be, but I do. I post it everywhere, like when I have a sale. So you probably won't miss it if you're at least, if you're subscribed on YouTube, plus maybe you follow my page on Facebook. You won't miss it. You'll see the notifications somewhere. Um, so anyway, I hate to keep you waiting. It's 4 minutes in now. I hate to go rambling on. Okay, don't forget to like, share, and of course, if you want to donate, I really appreciate that. It really does help me to keep going, to pay for the website. Um, Sometimes I do have to pay for help. I do most of the website work myself, but sometimes I do get in over my head and have to pay for help. So if you'd like to donate, you can donate to paypal.me/Sherry Andrea. Yeah, I had to think about that for a second. But if you want it to be even easier, you can go to my website, click on donate, and I have various ways you can donate. PayPal, the Cash App, And also I am, for those of you who are wondering what happened to it, I am going to turn the thing back on the website that allows you to use your credit card, your credit or debit card directly, because yeah, I've been getting some emails from people going, I don't use PayPal, I don't like PayPal. So I'm gonna turn that back on. Give me like a few days to get to it. But I am going to turn that back on, and so that, if you do want to donate but you want to use your debit or credit card, it'll make it easier for you. Okay, so I've rambled enough. Okay, so today what I'd like to talk about is often I do read the comments on the YouTube videos as much as I possibly can, and when I think it's necessary, I respond back. I don't have the time to catch all of them, but I try to catch most of them. There's one comment regarding Reiki that still like kind of gets me, and it kind of makes me, in a way, it makes me giggle, and it makes me go, oh, geez. Still people are thinking this way. Okay, the comment I'm talking about is when people make these comments saying that a person who has not been attuned by another human being, a person who has self-attuned, cannot then give that attunement to people. So basically, there have been some people making comments that a person that is you cannot get an attunement from a person who is self-attuned. It's just not. It's not going to work, or it's not good. It's not as good. However you want to see it. Also, we keep in mind when I say self-attuned, when a person says self-attuned, okay, we could dig deep into that, into the meaning of self-attunement. We're not really attuning ourselves. This kind of goes against, it's a contradiction to what we know to be true, which is that we are just conduits. We don't actually do anything. If I heal a person, we all understand that I didn't actually heal that person. I was just that go-between, that conduit. The energy flows through me. I am using myself. I am like the vessel. I'm using myself. I'm allowing myself to be used to manifest this healing, this energy work for another person. So first of all, it is kind of a contradiction, the whole phrase self-attunement. We don't really do anything. Okay, doctor, and I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly. I often pronounce many things incorrectly. I maybe I get it from my father. My father does this too, and I have this habit. There's some things my pronunciations of things are horrible. Dr. McKay Usui. I think I pronounced it right. Okay, so you have to understand, and I'm going to put a link in the description, and I really hope that you click on this link. It's a link to a YouTube video called The History of Reiki. I listened to this video. One, I was impressed. I really thoroughly enjoyed listening to it. It was awesome, and it was very thorough as far as giving the history. And some of the things that this guy mentioned, I'd never heard before. So that tells you like how thorough this video and the details he gave was. But here's the thing: what I already knew was that he was, and he may have never called it this. He may have never said to anybody, I was attuned. No, in meditation, during a 21 fast and meditation, he was looking for the last piece of the puzzle. And a lot of us know what that's like. To be searching for something, looking for something, feeling like we're being drawn or pulled towards something after awakening, but not knowing what that piece of the puzzle is we're looking for. But we do know we'll know it when we find it, or that when we get it, we're going to know it. Okay, so I think it was on the last day, the 21st day of this fast, he stood up and he looked up to the sky, and he was like many of us declare or ask, God, please show me what I'm looking for. Um, and that's probably not I'm paraphrasing. That's probably not exactly what was said, but I'm paraphrasing. And all of a sudden, he saw a light come out of the sky, and it hit him in his third eye, and it knocked him unconscious. While he was unconscious, he had visions where he was once again shown these symbols that he had previously seen in his studies of Zen, I believe Zen Buddhism. These symbols he'd come across that he knew related to healing. He just hadn't figured out how it applies to anything and how to use them and what was the key. He didn't know. It was like he was given information, he was given these symbols, but he didn't know how to use them in the practice of healing. So really, now don't ignore the fact that he fasted. He was already, most of his life, he studied, just like his parents, Zen Buddhism. So he probably had a very different childhood and life than I had. Up until the age of let's say 30, I'd never meditated. I didn't know anything about meditation. I'd never heard the term chakra before. So his lifestyle, his culture was very different from many of ours, who where we just, up until a certain age, we knew none of these things. We knew nothing about Zen Buddhism. We knew nothing about Buddhism, Hinduism, and the practice of them. We never meditated. So you have to understand, I would say, he was already on a spiritual path, whether he called it that or not, or, you know what I mean? He probably just saw it as a way of life, how he lived his life. I say he was on a spiritual path, regardless of whether he was conscious of it or not, or called it by name or not. Okay, so the reason why I want you to keep that in mind is because notice that even for him, this wasn't about he got attuned to this. He got attuned to Reiki. No. What came before he was hit by that bolt of light that knocked him unconscious? What came before it? Spiritual practice is what came before it. A meditative practice that was probably lifelong is what came before it. What I'm saying is he was on a spiritual path already and advancing all the time. If you're looking for the key and what's missing, even after you get attuned to Reiki, that's what's missing. That is the key. Here's the thing. Before I had already gotten attuned, but before I actually got into Reiki a lot and started attuning other people, I took time out. I stopped practicing and trying to study metaphysics, and because I was guided to stop doing everything and to focus on spiritual advancement, specifically being able to hear God through my heart. And I literally did that. I couldn't explain to anyone at the time why I was following what I got so strongly, and why I felt like, I can't explain why and what it all means. And people tried to stop me. No, don't turn away from metaphysics. No, why are you going to do? Because, and I understand, they didn't really have any faith in me getting guidance on my own, because up until that point, I'd been struggling to use my metaphysic ability. I couldn't even do readings at the time. I was really struggling with learning how to use my abilities. So I understand that when I said, hey, I got this guidance that says drop everything and work on yourself spiritually, I understand why people didn't believe me. Didn't believe that, and question whether I got something, guidance that was real. I get it. How could I? I couldn't even use my abilities at the time. So how was I so sure? Because I was being guided. And look, when the powers that be want you to know something and want you to head in a certain direction, they try to make it very clear to you. And I can't say it was clear. But here's the thing. He meditated and fasted for 21 days. That in itself is powerful, even if you haven't been in a lifelong practice of meditation and you haven't been on, spiritually practicing your whole life. That's huge. What you can accomplish in 21 days, especially going up in the mountains where you're not going to be distracted. You can spiritually advance quite a bit in that amount of time. And you could say it helped him on the last leg of that journey, and what he needed, that last leg of that spiritual advancement where he needed to get to a certain point. Because it was after he woke up that he was on his way down the mountain. He had stubbed his toe and cut his toe on a rock. And he reached down, like we often do when we hurt ourselves. We put our hand over it, like the injured area. As it's hurting, he put his hand over it and the pain almost immediately subsided. And then he went, once he got down to the bottom of the mountain, he went to like some type of tavern or something to get something to eat. Now, keep in mind, he had fasted 21 days. And any of you that know anything about fasting know you can't just jump off of a fast that long and just go ahead and eat. You will have the worst stomach cramps, like you will feel like you're dying. He ate a meal, a regular meal. No stomach cramps at all. The young lady that served him the meal, she had something wrong with her tooth and her jaw was swollen. And he asked her if he could, touch the side of her face. And he did. And the swelling and the pain subsided. So now keep in mind, a human being did not attune him to Reiki and all of a sudden he had healing powers. He had healing powers because of his spiritual advancement. But that is what Reiki is. Reiki means universal energy. And the ability to use that energy powerfully is based upon our level of advancement. Because as we spiritually advance, what happens? Our vibrations go higher and higher, permanently higher and higher. We become clearer and clearer vessels. So that when the energy flows through us, it stays purer on the way out. Someone who is never worked on themselves and is at an average spiritual level, when energy goes through them and out of them, it is tainted by the human condition, by what they're going through, what they're suffering. It's like saying this. I'll use a good example. Let's say that you've studied Satanism and you're a dark person and you got dark energy all in you, and so, but you say, you know what, I'm going to try praying right now and flowing energy through me. And so the energy flows into you. It's pure white universal energy, but it goes through you and is tainted by whatever you have going on. So if that energy flows through that dark energy, what's going to happen? It dilutes it. Okay, so this is why I'm always telling people, once they get attuned, you're not done yet. Keep working. Practice Reiki. Make sure you meditate. That's why I question people sometimes when they, call for a teaching session. The first thing I say to them is, well, do you practice do some spiritual practice every day. Okay, what is it? What do you do? And so sometimes people say, oh, well, I meditate every day, or I meditate and I pray, or I meditate and I say mantras or decrees. This is the reason why I ask that question, because it's important, because that is the key to actually being able to harness the power of that energy. The symbols that you learn aren't going to do you a bit of good if you're not really working at spiritually advancing yourself. Okay, so now let's get back to the point of what I'm talking about people saying that you can't get attuned by a person who has been self-attuned. Okay, so right away, it is a contradiction. Why is it a huge contradiction? Because Dr. Usui himself, you might as well say, was self-attuned. You want to doubt what I'm saying? Okay, then tell me who attuned him. Also, to say that you cannot get attuned by someone who is self-attuned is almost like saying to a person, it's not good enough that God himself hit you with that energy. It's not good enough to say that God attuned you. That's like saying that person believes more in the power of man than in God. So that's why I find it really hard to believe that, people are still saying things like this, like, oh, you're not. But I'll tell you the reason why. The reason why I never get mad at it is because I know the reason why it's being said. It's because of money. Dr. Usui, he was very lucky at his time, during his time when he, before pre-Reiki and after, Reiki, when he started teaching his 19 students, which the history is, he attuned them to all three levels at the same time. There was no separation of the levels. There were none of the rules that there are now. These rules that are like, oh, you got to let this many days go by. Oh, you can't attune people to all the levels at one time. Bullshit. It's all BS. And it's all BS because of money. Don't be fooled. Don't let people fool you. Don't let people convince you that they know something that no one else does, and you got to listen to them because they want to make their money. Yes, they have the right to make their money. I'm just saying that they shouldn't have to lie to do it. There should be some integrity in it. I mean, being a Reiki practitioner is almost like saying you work for God. So you work for God and you have no integrity? I'm sorry, but I just don't accept that. And that's the reason why in the past I haven't given that much time and attention to people that make statements such as, you can't get attuned by somebody who's self-attuned. It's BS. And the BS is all surrounding money. That person that says that to you, look deep into their eyes. You're seeing greed. So I really want you... now, I've just pointed out a couple contradictions. Sorry about that. I didn't turn the volume on my phone down. I've pointed out only a couple of contradictions. Now, you may watch the History of Reiki video and you may come up with more contradictions. You may be like, yeah, and there's this contradiction, that contradiction, to a person saying you can't get attunement from somebody who is self-attuned. But guess what? I'm not like most people. I spent a lot of years practicing and raising myself spiritually because my goal was to reach enlightenment. And I was very determined, didn't even know why I was so determined. And it wasn't because somebody else had. I actually didn't know anything about what I was being guided to do. I was just following the guidance that I was getting. Not even understanding, why and where is this leading me to? But it led me here, and it led me to be able to do the things that I can do now. Because once I reach enlightenment, yeah, I could use universal energy in a very powerful way. Yes, I could suddenly communicate with my higher self. Yeah, it took a little work. It wasn't just like overnight. It wasn't like, I was conked on the head and suddenly I could communicate with my higher self. No, I had to work at it. Everything, you have to work at it. No matter what. I don't care if you close yourself away in your house for 5 years, spiritually advancing. You're still going to have to work at the things that you were able to do. You're not going to easily know how to use those abilities and use the power of that energy now that you can flow through you, and it doesn't get tainted. Use those abilities that, once spiritually advanced, you find you have, such as telekinesis, the ability to move energy in a powerful way, or the ability to now easily manifest. So that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and the reason why the other reason why it was important is because many times I have people telling me that when somebody asks them what they're into, what they're doing, and they tell them, they explain it, they have people throwing things at them. Sometimes it's religious people throwing things at them and telling them they think what they're doing is evil. Okay, well, hey, Jesus did some of these same things. Dr. Usui actually was on a path, after he was hit with we'll call it the Reiki light. He actually, after that, was on a path to basically follow in Jesus' footsteps, as far as what Jesus had achieved and what he was able to do. So for those people that tell you, oh, my priest or my pastor says that's evil, those people should be ignored. Those people are the people who are just blind followers. And it's okay to follow traditional religion if you keep your eyes open and don't just be blind followers. It's fine to be into traditional religion as long as you're doing it in a smart way. Not just a blind follower. Not just if somebody tells you the sky is green, you're just going to follow it even though you know different. No, don't be a blind follower. And be ready to speak up for yourself. You know the history, you know what you're doing. Feel free to speak up. They don't have to believe it, but you also don't have to be made to feel like you're being put down, because you know that you're not doing anything wrong or anything that is evil or ungodly. So stop letting some people try to tell you that you are. And there are people who aren't even at your spiritual level that are trying to tell you that. Stop letting them do that. They don't have the right. Well, I thank you for listening. Feel free to comment. As always, keep it positive. Like I said, you can find me at sherryspeaks.com. Remember to like and share this video, and I would really appreciate it if you did subscribe. I appreciate you, and I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Namaste.